You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
It's time to head south with the Fantha From Down Under. Here's your host, Adam O'Brien.
Welcome to the Fantha From Down Under. Guys, welcome to episode number 66. Comes to you live from Queen's Cantina, the Gold Coast of Australia. The one, the only, the Fantha, Adam O'Brien. And joining me all the way from the UK, Paul Naylor of Fantha Tracks as well. Buddy, how are you?
Thank you for that intro, Adam. Well, episode 66, order 66. Incredible. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
It's gold. It is absolutely gold. And folks, I've got to tell you, Paul and I have been trying to get this together for a little while, and now we have it. And we've been just off air absolutely gas-bagging ourselves seriously with some great gags and just some laughs about Star Wars. So I hope you're ready for an hour of fun, because we're going to really get into it tonight, aren't we?
Oh, dear. So, like any good meetings, we'll start off with apologies. As Adam has hinted at there, we've been trying to get this together for a while now. And over the last couple of days, through my own idiocy, I've not realised what time I actually needed to be here. So yesterday, we said, right, are you good to go, mate? We're only an hour and a half. And I thought, I thought you meant like 12 hours from now. No, I'm not. So here we are. Great to be here.
It's absolute gold. Now, for you out there today, obviously this is Star Wars podcast, part of the Fantha Tracks radio network. Of course, you can find it at fanthatracks.com. Star Wars news in a single file, and of course on the Australian on the network. But of course, Paul, you're right in the heart of it there, close to Brummie, as we like to say, Birmingham, and just down the road for our good pal, Mr. Mark Newbold. Buddy, you're in the heart of it. What's it like to be in the land of Fantha Tracks?
Yeah, so it's really cool, actually. I mean, I was an OG fan, as they call them. So I was that sweet spot. I was born in 1970. So when Star Wars came out, it was, as it's been for anybody that's really into it, it was transformative. But they caught me at that sweet spot. So I over the years, collected stuff as a kid. Obviously, all the Kenner Palitoy figures. Sort of discovered this thing called girls. Got into those for a few years. Found out that they weren't quite as fulfilling as Star Wars, and came back to it. So, so I was working as a journalist, which I worked in newspapers for 25 years. I was working as a journalist at a local newspaper over in Shropshire, which is right in the middle of the UK. If you were to stick a pin in the middle of the UK and say, right, where's about as far away as you can get from a beach? That was pretty much where it was. Yeah, shockingly bad. But one day, Mark Newbold phoned in, and I took the call, and they said, he goes, hi, there's a lot of stuff going on in Star Wars at the moment. I'm a bit of a Star Wars expert. Do you need one? And I said, well, funnily enough, you've come through to the right guy, because I'm the chap that does all the stuff here. One thing led to another, and we said, well, I'll tell you what, I've got to crack on with my work, so I'll come back after work, I'll phone you, we'll have a chat. So came back into the office, phoned in for what was going to be half an hour. I think we were on for an hour and a half.
Sounds like Mark.
Yeah. But I was just compelled to meet him and find out more about this Jedi news that he was associated with at the time. And so we met up, got on really well. And this was just on the run-up to Celebration in Europe in 2016. And so I managed to talk my editor into me going down there to report on it for local press. So a good friend of mine who lives in London said, I'm not in town, but you can use my flat. So I've got somewhere to stay. The newspaper funded me going down there. So, right, great. So I was flying solo, no question about it, but hooking up with Mark and the rest of the guys while there. Anyway, hooked up with them, got on really well. And I said to Mark, after the 2 or 3 days that I'd seen him, I said, right, I'll catch up with you soon. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, yeah, I hope to catch up with you soon. He says, no, as far as I'm concerned, you're a member of Jedi News now. I went, oh, okay. So that's how that started. And then as the years ticked by, that evolved into Fantha Tracks. So there was a number of us that came away from Jedi News and created Fantha Tracks. And that's been amazing. got to know so many people, so many amazing characters. I'm talking to one right now. But if people are listening to this and they don't really get what we get out of what we're doing, we just feel like a family, don't we? I mean,
it is
hundreds and hundreds of miles apart in some instances, but we're a family. We've got friends from all over the world now, and when you meet up with them, like there's obviously a bit more difficult for you, Adam, because of being in Australia. But I quite often see the American crew because we go over to Celebration over in the States. And the last time that we went, which was last year, which was for Anaheim in California, very good friend of mine, Big Kev. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever spoke to Big Kev. Yeah,
I haven't, but I know him. Yeah. He's a unit. He's a unit.
He is a unit. Yeah, he's a lot less of a unit than he used to be. But I was in this hotel foyer. He stood there with a few of the guys, and the revolving doors come around, and in comes Kev. And he burst into tears and came running towards me. And I thought, mate, and I got it. We'd all been through COVID and all that, and everything that had been associated with that. And the fact that we were actually able to be thrown back together into the mix was brilliant. Yeah. But yeah, for me, Star Wars started back in, everybody says 77, but the UK didn't get it in 77. Other than a few cinemas in London around Christmas time of 77, it was on general release February 78. Which is when I saw it. I can still remember. I can't remember actually seeing the film, but I can remember queuing for it. I can remember huddling up into my mum's jacket because it was freezing cold. It was snowing, and this flea pit of a cinema that we were at. The queue literally went round the whole cinema. It's like a building where you could get round all sides of it, and the queue just wrapped around it. And I can remember it. I've got vague recollections of the film, obviously, but that I can remember more clear than the actual film itself. I can remember the effect that the film had. I can remember thinking, "Whoa, that was like real." As soon as it's a cliche, isn't it now? But as soon as you see the blockade runner come across the screen, and then you see the Star Destroyer going and going and going, and when's this thing going to stop? It was like we'd never seen anything like it. I mean, nowadays people go, well, so what? But back then, nobody had seen anything.
That was an experience. I mean, like it was huge. And I'm similar. Like I was definitely in the cinemas. Like I was born in '77, so I'm not going to remember things as one. Right?
You're a product of Star Wars.
I really am. Yeah. Hey, maybe they got busy. But it's interesting. Like apparently, my mum took us to Empire with my dad, and from where I recall, Dad loved it, and Mum fell asleep but complained about the noise. A couple of years later, they went and took us kids, so my brother and sister and I, and went and saw Jedi. And Dad said, "Look, I'm not going. You guys go and enjoy it." And all I remember is Mum going, "Oh, I'm going to watch that movie with Spock again." And I said, "No, it's not Spock. Like, no. Yeah, he talks about logic. He's always about may the logic be with you." And I go, "No, that's not the one." And all I remember, it was a horrible experience because she hates noise. And so we're in the cinema in the middle of Brisbane, and all the kids are going, flashing their lightsaber toys and stuff like that. And it's the whole scene where Luke is talking to Leia and going, our father is Vader, blah, blah, blah. And all, and she's going, all this bloody noise. I'm going, it's two kids talking about their dad. What are you on about? The noise. What the hell's going on here? Doesn't that George Roddenberry want to not make movies like this? I said, who? George who? And this is what I had to put up with. This is what happens when you have a Tasmanian mother. Errol Flynn, watch yourself.
As soon as you say Tasmania, all I've got is that Warner Bros. Character in my head.
The devil. Yeah.
No, you touched on it there. How frustrating is it when you talk to somebody who knows nothing about it and they go, "Oh, I've got something for you," and 2 days later they dug something out of their cupboard and it's the USS Enterprise. You go, no. You got me all wrong. Oh, I've got some lovely commemorative china at home you can have. Yeah, you can keep that.
You gotta love it. I mean, it's a window into that world. I mean, it's crazy. But I remember watching those, and and Jedi in the cinemas was just amazing. And I'll always take that away and think, wow, I mean, and now obviously we dissect those films to the nth degree, and for what we enjoy about those films, and come back to it from different angles, and we still watch them as if we were watching them for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can comfortably stick Empire Strikes Back on any day of the week. And I think probably because it's such a significant anniversary for Jedi this year, 40 years, I'll probably watch Jedi several times this year. But funnily enough, not compelled to do the same for episodes 8 and 9 in particular. We spoke before about The Force Awakens. I quite like The Force Awakens, and it's
a great film.
It is. It really is a good film. And then it's set up a really good story that was then flicked over. It was just... But, they don't get everything wrong. Rogue One, I know, is a particular favourite of yours and mine. Absolutely love Rogue One. That is just a great war film. You could take the sci-fi elements out of that and repurpose it as a World War II film, and it would be like the Guns of Navarone or something like that. It's amazing.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, but and Solo is so underrated. I love that film. And if Alden, Alden's got to get some more Solo at some point. He was great. I mean, they're all claiming, get this Harrison. Harrison wasn't always Harrison, even he was young once, 400 years ago. But and it was never intended to be an impersonation. I mean, that one guy that they kept trying to push as being the next Solo, who did that sort of 15-second, and he does look a bit like him,
Does look like him, yeah.
Yeah. I forget his name now. Anthony Ingruber or something like that. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Ingruber.
Yeah. And, great. But we don't want an impersonation. We wanted someone to bring their own thing.
The Gruber we want is that guy that takes off MacGyver, MacGruber. Now, that's fun.
That's the guy. Yeah. But no, but yeah, I mean, I can watch the originals over and over again. And of course, when we were younger, certainly you probably wouldn't remember it as much because you're a tad younger than me. But we had no VCRs. We had nothing to rewatch it on. Star Wars wasn't released on video until I think 1981, 82 anyway. So
82 maybe. Yeah. It's a little bit later,
so it's it's a long time after its release. Obviously these days, films in the cinema for 12 weeks, and then 16 weeks later you've got the DVD in your hands, or you used to. It's all streamed now, so it doesn't matter, does it? But yeah, so for me as a kid, Star Wars was more about the friends that were also into it, and us reenacting it, and obviously getting it totally wrong because we've only got like 1 or 2 visits to the cinema to remember it through, and then playing with the action figures and creating stuff with that. And it was such a happy time to be alive. It really was. I do feel sorry for the kids these days because your imagination is stilted somewhat by all the tech. Back then, you've got to delve deep into the recesses of your mind to recreate
imagination. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Especially with the toys.
Yeah,
man, we've grown up with Kenner. With the Kenner period for merchandise was just gold. Everything from collecting the vehicles to the sets, the micro sets too. Wow.
Yeah. And the things, I mean, like I say, I was into Star Wars big time until I discovered girls around the age of 14, 13, 14, whatever I was. And I had a cousin who was a bit younger than me, and he was into Star Wars, and some of the figures that I got and play sets and vehicles, I sold to him for ridiculously low prices.
Oh yeah!
If I told you that my Palitoy cardboard Death Star went to him for £5, and that a vinyl Cape Jawa went to him for 50p, then you can probably understand why I'm in therapy. But no, it's just... with the power of hindsight, you'd never do it. But, back then it seemed like the right thing to do.
Hi, this is Vivian Lyra Blair, and you're listening to Fantha Tracks.
It's interesting where Star Wars turns up. Now, obviously, both of us, go to conventions and stuff like that and watch a lot of stuff. But obviously, Lethal Mullet, the other thing that I work on, my own little channel, we tend to cover a bit of everything. And one of those things I do a lot of is 1980s animation and stuff like that too. So, following everything from, the stuff we were all used to Japanese anime that was turned into American TV shows. So things like Robotech was a perfect example back in the day. Now, what's interesting is I was talking to two of the voice actors from that cast. And I was like, we cover this, we cover that, we cover your show too. And we're big on Star Wars. And she, mate, well, you know what? Funny you should mention that, Adam. And then we had 2-hour chat about what they did with Star Wars. And these two, so they're the Epcars. So Richard Epcar, the husband, and my wife, Ellen Stern Epcar, actually worked on the voice dub for the Navajo native language edition of Star Wars: A New Hope.
Wow. Is that something
amazing?
Is that something you reported on a few years back? Because I think I saw something.
Definitely.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah,
it's amazing. This is translated into so many different languages. It spans again. George created something that was, mythological and can be touched on by so many different people because the archetypes are there for all the different, mythologies that could be.
Yeah. And anybody that's sort of spiritual or religious in any way can attach their own version to the Force. It's all encompassing, isn't it? So, Christianity can say, "Oh yes, I get the Force." I've got some friends that are. There's one very good friend of mine who is only going to celebration on Saturday because he is so religious that he won't go on Easter Sunday. Which I admire that's his stance. But that must be a real clash in his mind for him because he's such a Star Wars fan. But fair play to him. Yeah. But I do genuinely admire his stance on that. But yeah, so people can. That's the beauty of Star Wars, and I think George. I mean, he gets a lot of credit for Star Wars anyway, but I don't think generally he gets enough credit for how. You see all these franchises come up now, and they try to mimic what he did.
Oh yeah,
he really did set up the stall, and everybody's now trying to copy it. But yeah, as you get older, you appreciate it in a different way, don't you? It's weird. I've been watching Bad Batch, and as a kid, I can imagine I would have been really into the crew of the Bad Batch crew, Clone Force 99. But now the interesting stories to me are the ones about Crosshair, how he's defected, and I find that more intriguing than the good guys. Now, as a kid, it was all about the goodies. If you were playing Star Wars in the playground and you weren't Luke, Han, or at a push Chewie, you were a bit gutted, like, why am I a bloody stormtrooper? I don't want to be a stormtrooper. Put your twig down, don't shoot me with that. I want to be something else. But when you get older and you can appreciate the whole thing, and you can look at some of the nuance that's in there, he has created a monster, an absolute monster of franchise. But what I like about George as well, and it's public knowledge, but he's reasonably quiet about it. He doesn't do a lot of public appearances these days, but his philanthropic work, the fact that he's sort of ploughed so much money into helping others, there gets a point where I don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. I want to do something decent with this money,
Yeah, so it's got a heart.
Yeah. But
and he's not above going to a food court and sitting down to a roast meal with a Diet Coke can. We saw that. And I'm just like, dude, just chilling. Like, I got mates that back in the early 2000s when he was doing, must have been Revenge of the Sith, because it was well after Attack of the Clones had come out. And he's just going to the local coffee shops like it's nothing. And walk in and everyone goes, "Oh, g'day, George, how you going?" It's not. It's like, "Oh, it's George Lucas, man! My God, George, can I have an autograph?" It's not like that. It's like, oh, it's George. That's how Aussies look at it. Go, "Oh, g'day, George." Is that a white with two today?
Yeah, he would love that. Just the fact that he can have an ordinary life. He'd love that. Yeah. But,
no one cares out here. Like Russell Crowe walked down the street in Sydney, and he's expecting him to go, "Oh my God, it's Russell Crowe! Oh my God, what are we gonna do?"
Loved you in Neighbours.
And the funny thing is, He can't take a joke, that guy. I will say, I've got a mate on radio that's had him on before, and he's a funny guy. But if he goes, "Hey, Rusty," no, it's Russell. No, Russo. No, it's Russell. Russolino. No, it's Russo. Oh my God. Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It's gold. But I mean, this is what we love about, also meeting the creators of these franchises too. Particularly Star Wars. They're as mad as we are when it comes to Star Wars. Look at Taika Waititi. Yeah, bro, Star Wars is all right. Hey, it's a fantastic franchise, and he's right into it. He loves it. He gets it, and I kind of hope that his movie gets moving forward soon.
I'm sure it will happen at some point. It's interesting times now, isn't it? Because the people that are creating Star Wars now are the people that grew up with it, so they are so focused on getting it right. Favreau and Filoni, I mean, they get it. They get it. I love the thought of them sitting there in the office, right? Okay, so we're going to do something. What should we do? I don't know. Hey, Dave, go and get your box of action figures out. Okay. Sit there with the cup. Right, give it a good shuffle. And the first figure out. We've got a Nuggnaught. Okay, stick that on the side. What we got next? We got Boba Fett. Okay. So we'll work with that. What else we got? Yoda, right? And they've just dipped their hand. It's like they've dipped their hand into a bucket of toys and thought, right.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We've got these characters. Let's repurpose these characters. IG-88. What are we going to do with that? We'll think of something. Don't worry. We'll put him on the side. But I would love to think that that's how that came about. That for me, that would be absolutely golden if that was how it came about.
For everything in one location. Daily news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, video, and social media feeds. Bookmark FanthaTracks.com for Star Wars news 24/7, 365.
The people behind it only want the best for the franchise. The people that are there are currently, like they've got so many different creators coming in and, creating the TV shows and all that sort of stuff. But when I'm hearing, people inside there even telling me, a little guy from Australia, that we've just watched Denis Villeneuve's Dune and he's just literally owned us. And he did. Like, that's a damn good film. And it was a serious sci-fi film. And you got people like Javier Bardem and stuff like that, they'd love to be in a Star Wars movie. But then Frank Herbert's Dune comes along. Then it kind of makes you look at yourself and go, all right, what are we going to do? We need to do something. And they really need to bring it back. And because Villeneuve's only got number 2 to pop out, and he's going to go, right, guys, here you go. Giant sandworms, battleships, and knife fights, and some dude. It's like, come on, you've got Star Wars. You're just playing. No, get Star Wars happening.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
Yeah. What's been your thoughts on the TV output? What is there anything that you particularly liked or not liked?
So for me, first of all, Mando. Now, when that came out, I had a dear friend of mine. I'll name James. I won't say his last name, but I'll say it was James. Out here, who gave me a call up out of the blue, and he's got his own home cinema in his house. He lives up high up in the mountains up here, and he said, "Come on over, mate, and I've got something to show you. We're going to watch a bit of Star Wars." I said, "No, I'm good, buddy." I was busy at the time. No. Drop what you're doing. Come and have a cold beer, and we'll watch this. And we sat down and we watched that opening of the Mandalorian walking in and pretty much owning that little pub and obviously taking his quarry away, And I said I was hooked. I loved it. And it's what we've been waiting for a while, was a bounty hunter show just like that. But since then, and I look at what they've done. They've given us, Kenobi, which is probably the strongest so far. Finally got Liam Neeson to don the Jedi robes again and go, I have a certain amount of skill as a ghost. Pretty much.
Liam, I don't do TV Neeson. Yeah.
But I mean, Andor for me was, a lot of people bagging a show that got what Star Wars was, which was building characters in media res, building situations, and then building towards something. And of course, we got Stellan Skarsgård, which of course, always strong since Hunt for October, and even better in June. My Arrakis, my June. And then of course he's going Under, Cassian Under. Come on, Under. All he wants to do is chew up the scenery, going Under. And it's gold. That show, and Diego did such a fantastic job. Everyone, Genevieve O'Reilly. that is for me the pinnacle. That and I to be honest, I bagged it at the start. I was looking and go, yeah, look, it's a bit of a one-trick pony. It's Rogue One was because all the characters died. It's you don't. Not a lot of movies are brave enough to do that, but they really hit on something there. I mean, Book of Boba Fett, sure, it was all right and all that. Mando season 2, definitely good. But for me, Andor really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. Now I would say that Andor is probably my favourite, mainly because more than any other Star Wars product that's come out, it was like a book because it didn't it didn't seem to skip much. Everything was in there, every line of dialogue, everything, and I think the pacing of it threw a few people. But yeah, I'm definitely going to rewatch Andor at some point. The prison section of those 3 episodes that centered around the prison, that was incredible. I mean, you could break Andor up into about 3 or 4 different movies. It just worked so well. And yeah, you're right, Diego was brilliant in it. Mandalorian, obviously everybody loves Mando. It's a great show. The exhibit that they had over in Anaheim at Celebration, where they brought all the props over, including the full-size N1 Starfighter. Oh my God, that was like the greatest museum experience of my life. And the thing as well is because it's so contemporary, it's so recent and fresh in our minds, it meant even more because you were seeing things that you'd seen only 6 months before on the TV. I love Obi-Wan Kenobi series, but I do think it struggled a little bit from overuse of the volume of the new technology, where it's all done within that. So outside stuff didn't really feel outside. It just felt very much like a stage. But the actual getting Hayden back into Star Wars was beautiful. I got to meet Ewan last year.
Wow! How was that?
Yeah, so that was amazing. Yeah, so went over to Edinburgh in Scotland, and took my son, who's a massive prequel fan. And interestingly, I suppose his first sort of everybody's got a different jumping in point on Star Wars, which is great, isn't it? Because there's so many generations. Matthew's he's got 2 points that were his jump in points for Star Wars. He collected those little stubby galactic heroes. I've got a few on the shelf up there. So they were like little solid figures. Some had a little bit of movement, but not a lot. Loved those. But also Star Wars Lego games on his Xbox or whatever he was playing on. That to him was Star Wars. His first experience at the cinema was when they released the Clone Wars movie before the TV series came out. But yeah, so seeing Obi-Wan come back was huge. So we went to Edinburgh. We made the pilgrimage, me, my son, and a mate of ours. And we didn't get along with him. But the price of the autograph, it was still a lot of money, but it was about half the price it was at Celebration. We have this thing that we lovingly call Celebration Tax. It basically is where all the celebs get to add a bit on. So there's my Ewan McGregor autographed photo there. There's his little scribble at the bottom there.
Oh, wow.
So
he couldn't do bigger than that.
But he didn't. There was no personalisation because it was just one of those things where it was just such a cattle market to get everybody through.
Oh, would have been, yeah.
But he did a talk at the end of it, and he apologized. He's a nice guy. He just said, just an apology, guys. He says, I've appreciated meeting all of you today. Sorry, I couldn't spend more time with you. So that was good. And
he understands that, yeah.
Yeah, and prior to that, a few years before. Now this one is personalised. That's my Hayden Christmas.
Oh, hell yeah!
Yeah. So that's
Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker.
That's a really interesting photo as well. So he's obviously on the Tantive 4 there. So what's that all about?
Oh yeah.
They must have just taken him along there just for the photo shoot, or was there a cutscene? Who knows? But
that's gold.
Yeah.
It's great to have those experiences to actually see these guys and stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of puts you in the limelight of what they experience from their own side. A lot of them Star Wars fans themselves, and then they get lucky enough to join it. And I look at it and I think we all like the lead actors and things. That's a great thing. But Star Wars makes heroes out of the smallest characters in the world. And for me, if there ever was something to change with Star Wars now. George had a great time out here in Australia, yet he never really put Aussies in Star Wars. You don't hear people seeing Boba Fett walk past and go, hey there, Mr. Fett, mate, how you going? Mr. Fett, come and have a coldie, mate. Yeah, you know, like I think it would break the fourth wall.
I mean, Hayden Christensen, his accent was very specific, wasn't it? Though, I mean,
Oh yeah.
so you do get Liam Neeson. You know, I mean, yeah. Hello, I'm Qui-Gon Jinn from Northern Ireland. Who from where?
You know how close you guys were to having Sean Connery and Russell Crowe as those characters was actually apparently very, very close.
Really?
You know,
Really?
who's your force? What is your force? Come on now. Sean. Now, George, I must say, there's no junior here, is there? You know, come on now, George.
When he turned the lights on, when it went, yes.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Hi, this is David W. Collins, voice actor for Star Wars and sound designer at Skywalker Sound. You are listening to Fantha Tracks.
You were saying about the Book of Boba Fett. Now, I know a lot of people have problems with the Book of Boba Fett, thinking that it's, it's ruined the character. I've got a bit of a different take on it because as much as I love Boba Fett as a character, I never got that big attachment to it. Good friend of mine who you've probably spoken to, or you certainly know of, is Matt Booker. And Matt Booker.
Oh, yeah, I know, Matt. Spent a number of times, yeah.
Yeah, that guy has got one of the biggest Boba Fett collections you could possibly wish to see. I don't think he likes what they've done with Boba Fett at all, but his connection to it, probably similar to you, it is a bit more than mine. I can kind of see what they were trying to do there. And by the end of the series, he does say, I've had enough of this. I want to get back to doing stuff how I used to. So if a season 2 does happen, or if he turns up in Mandalorian, which I suspect he will, I think he'll be very different to what he was like in that series. He's going to be badass again. And hopefully he keeps the helmet on. Keep the helmet on, Tim. We don't need to see too much.
There's something that a mutual friend of ours, Paul Bateman, said a little while back when this was all starting to kick into gear. There's one thing to be, the actual Boba Fett, right, which is obviously what they did. But George kind of opened up a can of worms when he did Attack of the Clones, unfortunately, with Django and all that sort of thing. To me, it should have been exactly what they planned to do. A Boba Fett where somebody picks up the armor and run with the whole idea that the armor is Fett and people changing it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then it becomes an immortal character.
Yeah. They must have thought, well, there's possibilities with this. And that probably evolved into Cobb Vanth.
Definitely. Yeah.
I agree with you, though. That would have been a good idea. Yeah. So you could pass it.
Like the Phantom, the Ghost Who Walks, the character just, for everyone else in the universe that sees it, the guy can't die. He would just keep shooting. He just gets back up. Don't mess with Fett, man. Holy, whoa.
But I mean, overall, I kind of liked what they did with it. I like the fact that nowadays Tusken Raiders can be viewed quite differently.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, made them into sort of like martial arts, sort of. Almost became a bit Tai Chi, didn't it? In some places.
All of a sudden, they're kung fu masters, and I mean. Really, they probably would have had their own fighting styles anyway because they're based off the Bedouin monks, and a little bit, not Bedouin, but the Bedouin people, And to me, that could be monk-like in the way that they fight because that's it's something only they know. No one else knew how to fight like that, and it works for the culture that they have, So for Fett to come into it like that, I kind of see that. That kind of works, It doesn't mean kung fu on the sand dunes.
See, I'm speaking to a guy here who's big on his martial arts. He's thinking, stay away from it.
What's interesting is, many people have tried that, and you look back to Dune. So David Lynch years ago did 1984 Dune. And the first thing is you open up the book and what happens is basically kung fu on the sand dunes. The Fremen in that are knife experts. They literally jump out of the sand, do martial arts and jump back in. That's their thing. They're the ghosts in the sand. Yeah. And he said, let's just make laser guns and have gunfights and stuff like that. Yeah. And, of course, that's what it was. It wasn't until Villeneuve, saw it for what it was and went, let's do it right. The martial arts in that new one, 2021 June, got it right. And, of course, it's based on Filipino stick fighting, all the sword stuff in that.
I think a lot of the problems back for the earlier version that had Sting in it would have been budget constraints and actual technology.
Oh, yeah.
So they have to reimagine stuff, don't they? But nowadays you can be true to the source material these days, which definitely helps. Yeah.
Yeah, who's funny though? Jason Momoa goes, "Oh, I'm going to be in a space movie. This is going to be great." Never read the book, and of course, has no idea his character is going to require a lot from him. And of course, his character gets killed off in the script. The book's been out for how many years now? Like since 1965. Spoilers, tough. But basically, his character, who's the Han Solo with swords in it, he's Duncan Idaho, the sword master of Guinness. Yeah, he gets killed. But guess what, folks? Every other book he comes back as a Gola, a clone, right up to the last book. Yeah. Some 30-plus books and the ones that Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert and everything. Let's bring him back again. Yeah, he's a good guy. And so now, since it's been out, was it 2 years now, the movie, people are now, saying, Jason, you realize you're coming back when they do sequels. And he goes, no, I was killed. And he's read it. He goes, jeepers. I mean, I'm like the Luke Skywalker of Dune. Yeah. Not even Chalamet or whatever it is, Timothy Chalamet or whatever can do that. But he'll be back. He goes, I'll be back, dude.
Even Alec Guinness didn't know that, did he? I mean, yeah, that's it. I'm gone. Actually, we need you back. We need you back for the Empire Strikes Back. Oh, go on then. I'll put the syrup on again. Which way did it go?
Yeah, is it this way?
They could never get it right, could they? They could never get it
right. Well, that's all we have time for here tonight on the Fantha From Down Under. And we'll catch you next time. Same place, same channel, and of course, with more Star Wars news in a single file from FanthaTracks.com's Australian edition. That's right, we'll catch you next time. So, until then, may the Force be with you, and enjoy your Star Wars fandom. We'll see you next time. Warning, no Tauntauns were harmed in the filming and recording of this podcast.
Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio, it's Desert Planet Discs.